Hi everyone, this is going to show you how to assign an assessment online using eDoctrina. So the first thing we need to do is go to the eDoctrina website, which is edoctrina.org. And then in the top right hand corner, you'll see their user login button. It's the yellow button in the top right corner. If you'd like to bookmark this login screen, and as you can tell here, just click on the star. I already have done that, so that's why my star is blue. And also you can see I have it here in my bookmarks bar is visible. It's right there for the login for eDoctrina. So what you have to do is filter by district, school, and then your login and your password. So first thing we're going to do is district is Global Concepts Charter School. Just start typing it and it will filter down for you automatically, and select it here by clicking on it. Go to school. So the school is important. It's the one you're assigned to through PowerSchool. So if you're assigned to the high school, you're going to pick high school. If you're at the K to 8, you're either going to select elementary or middle, depending on the grade levels. Likewise, though, if you are in the if you're assigned to both buildings, what happens is you're going to select the school for whichever group of students that you're assigning the assessment to. So for example, if you're assigned to both and you want to assign it just to your high school students, you would go to high school. What happens is it limits you who you can see based on the building that you're attached to. So I do have a sample teacher built in here for demoing purposes, and that's what I'm going to use to show you this. See if I can type. There we go. And once you're in, you're going to have, you'll take a look at our home screen here. If you do happen to have any login issues, you have so once you're here at the home screen, what we're going to do is we're going to go to quick links and go to the teacher dashboard. And in that teacher dashboard, the first two things you have to do is select which students and select the assessment. eDoctrina needs to know who you're giving the assessment to and then which assessment you're giving them. So the first thing that we're going to do is over here under course, it will find, because let me just reset. Let me do this real quick. If you ever need to start over, reset your filters over here in the top right. So what this is going to do, I want to select my courses. So it will list here on the left all the courses that you teach. It reads it from PowerSchool. So select the one that you are using, and then you're going to go to that class. So if you have multiple classes of that same course, they'd be listed down here. All right. In this example, because the sample teacher only has a sample course and a single sample class, that's why you don't see multiple classes over here. By default, it will select all the students for you based on the course and the class that you've given it. If you need to, though, you can click in here and individually select those students that you want to assign an assessment to if you need to. But for the most part, you're always going to leave it as all students. Okay, now there is a limit. I believe it's like 120 or 140 students. What you can do, though, is if you notice, it will tell you the amount of students that you have selected. You can do select all, and it will select them all too if you happen to have more than that, I believe, limit of 140. But what I'm going to do is just going to leave it as all students here. Okay. So from here, what we're going to do is we need to tell it which assessment that you're going to give it. The first thing and that you want to make sure of is please make sure you're in the proper school year 2020-2021. So this way you have access to the right group of assessments that you've created for the school year. From there, then what you're going to do is go under here on the far right for assessment. This is the easiest way to find the things, is either you know the exact name of your assessment or you have what's or if you have the assessment ID. All right, so I did it by ID number, so I'm just going to type in 806-732. I've written it down on a scratch pad that you can't see. I'm going to hit my search button, and there it is, Simple Test 1A. I click it, it sends it over here to the right. I get out of the screen, or a little pop-up. It now knows which assessment I'm giving this to. So I'm giving it to my sample class and all the students in it, and this is the assessment that I'm giving it to. Now, I could have done a search for sample test 1A, that's fine. However, I prefer using the assessment IDs, and I'll talk about where you find those in a separate video. Okay, so again, this is assuming that your assessment is set and ready to go. So from here, what we're going to do is go here under Actions, and we're going to go to Assign Online Assessments. And it's very straightforward. So basically, all you're going to do is, by default, all of the students are going to be assigned the test. Again, for this example, I only have one student in my course. So what we need to do is assign the test window. So it needs a start date. So I'm going to go today's date, and I'm going to go with the current time. And I'm going to set it for, it does increments of 5 minutes for your times. The end time is, it will default by an hour. So if you do want to change it, make it a half hour, 40 minutes, whatever, you can do that. You can also make your end date a day later, 2 days later. You can have your test window open for however much you want. But again, it's all defaulted by 5-minute increments though. So in terms of minutes. Once you have that, there is an option if you want to notify the students by email. I wouldn't, and I'll show you why momentarily. I'll show you what it looks like on the student side of things. From here, just hit proceed. And what that's going to do is assign it. It'll give you a little pop-up for assignment results. You want to click OK. And on this next pop-up, it shows you who it's assigned to and whether or not they've started it or not. In this case, they have not started it, which is fine. Okay, and we're going to hit close on the screen. From here, what I'll do is I'll show you what it looks like on the student side of things and what happens when they take the test. So I'm going to log out. I will log back in as a sample student. And when the students log in, their student dashboard looks like this. So what they can do is they can filter their view by all of my classes. And they have two other options, the particular class, and if they, all of their classes listed from PowerSchool will be listed there, or assessments not linked to a course. This third option is basically if administratively we wanted to push out an assessment or like a survey or something to all the students at once, and they're not assigned to a course, and we're doing it at like a district level or a building level. Primarily, the kids will just leave it as all my classes so they can see everything. So what will happen is any assignments would show up here on the left under assessments. Learning experiences are something totally different that we will talk about at a much later date. For right now, they're going to be concentrating on stuff here under assessments. So if the test window is available, or if they're within the test window time period, what they'll see over here on the right is a start and finish buttons. And what we can do then is I'll show you what happens when they actually take the test. So if they click on Start Test, what they'll get is the screen here. On the left, they have a Submit button. And if you try and click on it right away, you have questions that are unanswered. If you finish it, you won't be able to return. I don't want to do that, so I want to hit Cancel and get out of it so I can still take the test. I'm just showing what can happen. There is an option for Save and Finish Later also. There is a button for Review Later, which is a test-taking type tool. So if a student's like, oh, I want to go back to this, I'm just going to mark it as review later. I'm still going to be able to put an answer in, but I'll show you what it's going to look like, review later again. So turn it on again. To go to the next question, there's two options. They can either navigate to the different questions here with the buttons, or they can use the arrows on the right and left side of the screen. Skiing is a sport, that is true. And then I'm going to go back here. We all know that it is 42. Okay, so once they've taken all the questions or answered or put an answer in for all of the questions, it'll give them a couple of messages. First off, all answers are answered in the test, and then you have some questions for rechecking. So what it will do is if you click on this button here and go to next flag question, it'll take them back to the one that was marked as review for later. And I like it, so I'm going to turn that off. And all questions are answered. We're good to go. They can close the messages here by clicking on the X. And then now notice the submit button is yellow and is basically saying, yep, you're ready to go, you're done. So click submit. It'll give them that same warning again. In this case, though, I'm going to hit yes. And over here, what had happened is I had set the assessment so that they can view their results immediately. So basically the student is, once they're done, depending on the type of test that you set up, they would then be able to go to view report, and they get a student report. So it tells them what the correct answers are, what the student gave as an answer, whether or not that answer was correct or not, how many points they earned out of a possible amount of points. So their score is a 3 out of 3, percent score of 100%. If you put in for proficiency levels, that would also show up here. Also, they can go back here on the left, and on the question mark icon next to the question number, it will pull up the question for them. Okay, so they can see what the question was and then take a look at what they answered and compare it to what the correct answer was for themselves. So they are able to review, basically they can review the questions here online at any time. If they want, they can then export the report as a PDF, so they could save it for themselves if they wanted to save it. Otherwise, it's still here and available to them in their dashboard. So clicking on closing the tab brings them back, and that's what we have. So if you want, what's going to happen is I will log out here and show from the teacher standpoint what it looks like, how to pull some different reports off of that. So I'm going to go into login again and log in back as a teacher. And this time again, go to my quick links and go to teacher dashboard. And now instead of assigning the test, I'm going to go check student answers. Well, there's a couple things. We could go to that and check the student answers to make sure that if they had some issues or something, you can go in and check that. So let me show you that. So again, it remembers your previous visit, so it knows what class I'm in and which assessment I gave it to. So I'm going to go to check student answers. First thing it does is it pulls up a key for your answers here. So my test was made up of multiple choice and a true-false question. So if we take a look here on the left, I have the 3 questions. It also tells you up here what the proper answers were, A, true, and C. And the green in there tells me that those were correct answers. Okay? I'm going to close this window so we can see some other things. Well, what happens when we go here? So if you click on the score for a particular student, it will open up the standards with statistics report, which is the student score report that was shown previously when the student, this is the default report that the student gets based on that assessment. If we go here, online assessment statistic, this little computer icon, and you hover here, it tells you the start and end time of how long they took for the assessment. Okay, if you click on it, it just doesn't do anything. You just hover to see what it is. But what we can do is get values. This is handy when you're talking with parents or something and they're kind of disagreeing with, oh, why did my student get such a poor score? Well, you can go back and show them and say, look, they spent 2 minutes on this assessment instead of, a little longer time. So they just blew right through it and we're just randomly choosing answers. So this will give you some proof towards that, and that's the case that happened. If we click here on an answer, what it does is this is where you can change it. So if say if they got the answer wrong and for some reason you need to change it to a different answer for them, this is how you do it. So by clicking on here, you could change their answer and notice the score gets automatically changed and updated. Okay. So that's how you can do verifications on that if you need to change something. And it does do it in real time and changes their scores, and will also change for any reports that you would need to run on that. So once that is all set, you can hit close. And then what will happen, the other things that you can do is so we have some different reports that you can use. So there's an individual student report, and I'll show you that. There are different formats for it, but I'll leave it as standards. This is the same one that we just saw. This is the default one that the students would get. So the questions listed here, you have the question icon, which will pull up the individual question. It also highlights the proper answer for you. And then correct answer, student answer, whether their answer was correct or not, and the points earned out of a possible amount of points. This can be exported as a PDF. And because I only have the one student, I would export just that one file. Class summary, a little different. What this does is this will give you first off the option, do you want it displayed as last first or first last, whatever you like. I'm going to run it from here and show you. So what this does, this will give you individual students listed here. Again, my example only has one student in that class, so that's all we're going to see. But what it does then is gives you a class average, and it breaks it down for that teacher in that course. And then if there are other teachers teaching the same course and they gave it to their students, it would give you the box or that information also down here for all the teachers. Okay, so handy little one for some data reporting and comparing. Also gives you the ability to export it as a CSV. So if you want to use Google Sheets, you can export it as a CSV and then go into Google Sheets and open it up from that. You can export to Excel if you'd rather use it as an Excel file, or you can export it as a PDF file and save it that way. So there's also item analysis, and I'm going to go OK. And what this does is give you a graphical thing. This is really handy because then it shows you percentages of where other answers were given and how many. So handy thing. Also, question mark icon tells you, clicking on it pulls up the question. This can also be exported as an Excel file or as a PDF. So if you want to save it, that's how you do that. And again, to get out of it, just close the tab. Class comparison. This will, if you have multiple classes of the same course and you want to do a comparison at the class level of how one class did against the other, you can. Student standards, I didn't put standards on this assessment, although in best practice scenarios, yes, you would have a standard assigned to each question. And then I'll show you what this looks like though. It would just give you, it's just the standards report. It's pretty simple. It tells you their score, 3 out of 3 for 100%. If you click on it, it tells you, breaks it down by question. So it's all basically the same information for all these reports. It's just, what do you want to focus more on? Again, exit out. Sorry, this you can export as an Excel or export as a CSV file. RTI progress, it's not an RTI one, so not going to worry about that one. We can also do item responses, another really good one. So if I click on that and hit OK, it will give me, what it'll do is it'll list all the students. And again, not the greatest example because I only have one student in here, but it will tell their answer here, and then up here it gives you the amount of points, what the correct answer is, whether they got it right or wrong. But what this will do is this will give you kind of for all of the students listed in here, you can see in a table format where things are at in terms of which questions were answered. Kind of goes towards showing which questions were the most difficult for the students. It'll help you pull that information out. Again, this one can be exported as an Excel file, so you can take a look at it there. So any other questions about any specific reports here that you see, just email me and I can give you more details on an individual basis. Okay, thanks for watching.